Hare Krishna. So welcome to all of you for the second day of this Shravana Utsav, hearing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in the eve of the Gaura Purnima festival, which we'll be celebrating the next week. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. So today we'll be discussing about the pastime of Lord Chaitanya with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So this pastime, this we find in the 6th chapter of Madhya Leela, the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, originally he is Brihaspati. So who was Brihaspati? Yes, Indra's spiritual master, the spiritual master of the Devatas from heavenly planets. When Lord Chaitanya appeared, many devotees from the spiritual world, many of them from the heavenly planets, the different Devatas, many of them appeared along with him. Some of them before him, some of them after him, so that to assist him during all of his pastimes. So likewise, the Brihaspati, the Guru or the spiritual master of the Devatas, he appeared to assist Lord Chaitanya in his pastimes. So he was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is a very elderly gentleman. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyasa and came to Jagannatha Puri, his age was 24. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was elderly gentleman, very elderly. Already he had his daughter Shadi and she was married to Amoga Pandita, like a grandfatherly personality. And he was a very big scholar. He was the Asthana Pandita in the court of King Prataparudra. He was an expert in Sanskrit, logic, and many other Nyaya Shastras and many things in the learning of the Vedic, Vedanta. And he was one of the head chief priests in the temple of Jagannatha Puri. Very learned man, highly respectable gentleman. But he was an impersonalist, a Mayavadi. So who are these Mayavadis or impersonalists? Who don't accept the form of the Supreme Lord. They consider the energy or the impersonal effulgence of the Lord to be ultimate. They won't accept the form of the Supreme Lord. And so such was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's disposition. And from this position, how he was transformed to become a pure devotee of Krishna. That is what we'll be seeing today. It's all by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara. Lord Chaitanya appeared to deliver the most fallen conditioned souls. And especially it is said, we'll be seeing in these few verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita how the Mayavadis, they are considered to be very low. So even such persons, Lord Chaitanya was able to deliver by his causeless mercy. So how this transpired, the events, how it took place, very beautifully, wonderfully it's explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So let us begin. Naumitam Gaura Chandram Yaha Kutarka Karshashashayam Sarvabhaumam Sarvabhauma Bhakti Bhumanam Acharat. So obeisances to Lord Gaurachandra, who delivered a person like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was Kutarka Karkashashayam. Karkasha Ashaya. Ashaya means the heart. His heart was Karkasha, means very hard-hearted. Because of all the erudite scholarship, the knowledge of Vedanta, everything had made him proud and very hard, not very, see, devotees means on the opposite, humble, soft, mild-hearted, this is what we say. And just opposite of that. Karkasha Ashayam, hard-hearted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, through all his kutarka, very bad arguments, quoting the Vedic literatures and quoting some wrong conclusions. Such a Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Bhakti Bhumanam Acharat. So a person of hard-heartedness, Lord Chaitanya was able to make him the best of devotees. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra Jayo Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jayo Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Let us begin with the story, how it began. So as I told you, at the age of 24, Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa, and from Navadvipa he travelled towards Jagannath Puri. Along with him, 4 associates were there. Nityananda Prabhu, Damodara Pandita, Jagadananda Pandita and Mukunda Datta. So with all of them, they came towards Jagannath Puri, and a lot of events. They came through Sakshi Gopala, then Remuna, all these places they passed through. And finally, at a place where Nityananda Prabhu broke the sannyasa stick of Lord Chaitanya, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left all of them and individually started moving towards Jagannatha temple. And when he came towards Adharanala, from a distant place, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could see the Shikhara, the Neela Chakra on top of the dome of the Jagannath Puri temple. And he couldn't contain himself. He started running. Very eager to see Lord Jagannatha, he started running, and all his associates, they wanted to catch up with him, but they couldn't. Mahaprabhu very hastily, with great speed, he ran towards the Jagannatha temple. He entered the temple hall, and he entered the sanctum, the altar of the Lord, and there, looking at Lord Jagannatha, he fainted. At that point of time, when he fainted, there were many other guards nearby, and they were thinking, hey, someone has come here to create some disturbance. They took their sticks and wanted to hit him. But that was the time Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya appeared on the scene. So somehow by Lord's arrangement, at that point of time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was there in that place, so he could see all these things. This one very young sannyasi has come, and seeing Lord Jagannatha, he has fainted, and so he stopped the other people, and he looked very carefully the body of Lord Chaitanya. He could make out he is not an ordinary man. He could see many of the different kinds of transformations which his body has undergone. And so he waited for some time, but Mahaprabhu did not regain his consciousness, and he thought, like, say, now it's the time for offering bhoga, what to do? So he called a few of his disciples and the guards. They came and they carried Mahaprabhu to his home. So he ordered them to take to his home. So likewise they were taken to, Mahaprabhu was being carried to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So now also if we go to Jagannath Puri, very close to to the temple on the southern direction. We see there's the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya house. So there Mahaprabhu was being carried there. So he was made to lay down on a sanctified place. And there again, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya very closely observed the bodily features of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vasi Bhattacharya mane karena vichara ei Krishna Mahapremera satvika vikara. So this transformation, the kind what he was seeing in the body of Mahaprabhu, this was not something ordinary. He could make out this is a transcendental ecstatic transformation brought about by love of Krishna, by Krishna Prema, love of Godhead. So being in that ecstatic condition, so these are the transformation which has happened in whatever his body. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was also very learned in the scriptures. He could make out this. Suddipta Satvika e Nama ye Pralaya Nitya Siddha Bhakte se Suddipta Bhavahaya. So this transformation which he could make out is of Suddipta Satvika category. This cannot take place in any other mortal human being. This is only possible by in the body of eternally liberated personalities. So this much he could make out at the first impression of Lord Chaitanya. When this was there, the other devotees, they came running towards Jagannath temple and they were inquiring, where is Mahaprabhu? And some people told, yes, one young sannyasi had come, he had entered the altar, he felt unconscious there and he is being taken to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. So at that time, Gopinatha Acharya, another elderly gentleman, he was the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. This Gopinatha Acharya, he was he originally was from Navadvipa. So he knew about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his position, his pastimes, everything. And he was married to the daughter of Visharada. Means Visharada is the father. His son was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and he had one sister, and that sister was married to Gopinatha Acharya. So likewise they are brother-in-laws. So Gopinatha Acharya met these other devotees. Nityananda Prabhu, he offered obeisances, and other devotees he met. And the other devotees, they told that this is what has happened. Mahaprabhu has come here. Now it seems he has become unconscious and he was being taken to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. Where is his house? So Gopinatha Acharya could make out what has happened. So immediately he took all these devotees to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. There they saw Mahaprabhu still lying unconscious there. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya received them well, and he told them, okay, don't worry, he's still taking rest. Meanwhile, I'll send my son Chandanacharya. You can go take darshan, take bath and take darshan of Jagannatha, and we'll see. So they went, took darshan and again came back, and then still Mahaprabhu did not regain his consciousness. So they started performing Kirtana. So they started Kirtana, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hearing this Mahamantra, Mahaprabhu at once he woke up. And after that, he was introduced to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and other devotees were there, and they were fed a prasadam of Lord Jagannatha, and all of these things took place. And that was the time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, after everyone was seated, Om Namo Narayanaya, he offered obeisances to Lord Chaitanya, because Mayavadi sannyasis, they address each other as Narayana. And Mahaprabhu in turn, he blessed him. Krishne Matirastu, let your mind be fixed on Krishna. So this is the benediction what Mahaprabhu gave. And they conversed, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told, next time if you want to go to Jagannath temple, don't go alone. Either I'll come with you or I'll send my men along with you. Mahaprabhu told, okay, don't worry. I'll not enter the altar. I'll stand near the Garuda Stamba, and from there itself I'll take darshan. So from that day onwards, Mahaprabhu, now also if we go near the Aruna Stamba, a distance, far distance away, Mahaprabhu used to stand there and used to take darshan of Lord Jagannatha. So all of these things happened. The next day, the second day, Gopinathacharya, then Mukunda, all of them, along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they went, took darshan of Jagannatha, and they came back. Gopinathacharya, Mukunda, they came towards Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So at that point of time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, Bhattacharya kahe inhara praudha yauvana kemate sannyasa dharma haibe rakshana. This young sannyasi is very young man. At very young age he has taken sannyasa. How will he protect his sannyasa dharma? It will be very difficult to control the senses, especially in the young age. Nirantara inhake vedanta shunaiba vairagya advaita marge pravesha karaiba. So, for this sannyasi, young sannyasi, he should be fully engaged in hearing Vedanta philosophy. So, anyhow, you have told me that how he has taken initiation and from the Bharati Sampradaya, and he is like chanting and all of these things he is doing. So, if at all I can elevate him to a higher level of sannyasa, he says how? Kahena yadi punarapi yoga pattadiya samskara kariye uttama sampradaye aniya. Mahaprabhu, he has taken sannyasa from Bharati Sampradaya, from Keshava Bharati. So I can elevate him by giving again, performing the purificatory processes, all these things, and elevate him to the highest, whatever, sannyasa order of whatever is from the Saraswati Sampradaya. So in this way he started explaining, hearing all of these things. Shuni Gopinatha Mukunda Dunhe Dukhi Haila Gopinathacharya Kichu Kahite Lagila. So hearing all these things, Gopinathacharya was very sad. What does he think about Mahaprabhu? He is telling sannyasa from another sampradaya, this sampradaya, hearing Vedanta. Because Gopinathacharya, he knew who is Lord Chaitanya. He is none other than Krishna himself. And he has come here. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is thinking in such whatever stupid ways. So Gopinathacharya addresses Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and he says, Bhattacharya tumi inhara na jana mahima bhagavatta lakshanera inhate sima. My dear Bhattacharya, you don't know who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhagavatta lakshanera, all the qualifications or symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead you can find in him. He is none other than Lord Krishna himself. So when he made these statements, there was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and other disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Immediately everyone pounced upon him. Hey, how do you say this? How can you're also big Pandita, how can you say a mortal man as an incarnation of God? And they started giving their own different varieties of arguments, quoting different shastras. Don't you know Lord is known as Triyugi? Only in 3 yugas he appear. How do you say he is the incarnation? And in such foolish way you speak. Like this, lot of arguments took place. Everyone, they pounced upon Gopinathacharya. And finally Gopinathacharya, he quoted this verse from Bhagavatam. Athapite deva padambujadvaya prasadaleshanugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. This is actually from the prayers of Lord Brahma. We find in the 10th canto, wherein Lord Brahma says, if at all we want to understand the Supreme Lord, it can be possible only if we have the mercy of his lotus feet. Athapi te deva padambujadvayam prasada lesha anugrahita evahi. Little mercy if we have, only then will we be able to understand the Supreme Lord. If we don't have the mercy of the Supreme Lord, irrespective of however educated you be, whatever Vedic literature, Shastras, the Vedanta Sutra, everything you would have read, still you cannot understand who the Supreme Lord is. The same Supreme Lord has come to your house, but you are unable to recognize this. This shows that you have not received the mercy of the Lord. Fie upon all this whatever study of the Vedic literatures, what you have undergone. You are unable to recognize the Supreme Lord. So here we can remember the pastime of the Brahmana Patnis, Brahmanas who are performing Vedic rituals. Same way, they are also performing big yajnas, chanting big shlokas from the Vedas, quoting different things, and fully engrossed in that whatever karma kanda Vedic ritual. When Krishna's friends, they came and asked them, my dear sirs, kindly give Krishna and Balaram, they have come to nearby forest, please whatever, can you give some food, they are hungry. So they did not care for them. On the other hand, the Brahmana Patnis, the wives of Brahmanas, they were not very scholarly people who had studied all the Vedanta, everything. No, they had simply heard about Krishna from maybe the fruits vendors and some such people, but they had developed attraction towards him, love towards him. And when they heard that Krishna and Balarama had come, immediately they took all whatever foodstuffs they had prepared for the sacrifice and they started going towards offering them to Lord Krishna and Balarama. Even though their fathers, brothers, husbands, sons, everyone forbade them not to go, in spite of that they transgressed their orders and went towards Krishna and Balaram and offered everything. So later, by their mercy, of course, these Brahmanas, they also came back to their senses. So likewise here we see Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and all of his disciples, they were all highly learned, but in spite of that, they were unable to recognize the Lord. This is what Gopinatha Acharya pointed out. Without getting the mercy of the Lord, you will never be able to understand Him. And then he started telling how a few quotations from various scriptures he started telling to impress upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that no, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the Supreme Lord Himself. So 3 verses I would like to quote here. Asan varnastrayo hi asya grihnato anuyugam tanuh shuklo raktas tatha pita idanim krishnatam gataha. Actually, this verse was quoted by Garga Muni to Nanda Maharaja. My dear Nanda Maharaja, this son of yours, actually every millennium he appears at different millennium, different forms, different colors he takes, Shukla, Rakta, Pita. Now he has taken blackish form. He had told to Nanda Maharaja, your son Krishna. So there this mention is there, Shukla, Rakta, Stata, Pita. Pita means yellow color, golden color. So this was pointed out by Gopinatha Acharya. And this verse from Bhagavatam, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Praye Yajantihi Sumedasaha. So Lord Krishna, in the Kali Yuga, he comes, Krishna Varnam, he describes about Lord Krishna. Tvisha Akrishnam, his complexion will not be dark color in this age, referring to Pita, will be golden complexion. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam. Along with all of his associates, he'll appear. And what does he do? Yajnai Sankirtana Prayair. He performs a yajna, specific yajna in this age of Kali, which is Sankirtana Yajna, chanting chanting the holy names of the Lord congregationally. Yajna Sankirtanai prior, Yajanti Sumedasaha. Intelligent people in Kali Yuga, they perform this Sankirtana Yajna. So this was pointed out by Gopinathacharya, and then this verse from the Mahabharata quoted in the from the portion of Vishnu Sahasranama. Suvarna varno hemango varangaschandanangadi sanyasakrit shamashanto nishna shantih parayanaha. So this is referring to Mahaprabhu. He would have taken sannyasa. His bodily complexion is golden in color, and he'll preach the whatever chanting of the holy names and brings peace in the minds of his devotees. So all of these things were quoted, but in spite of hearing all of these things, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Gopinathacharya, enough of all your teaching, now you can go, send Mahaprabhu, I would like to meet him, enough of all your preachings to me, go and preach to others, not for me. Because they had a very, cordial relation, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did not accept the version of Gopinathacharya. So Gopinathacharya felt very bad. So he could make out without the mercy of the Lord, this Bhattacharya, he can never be changed. Whatever I quote, this will never work upon him. So next day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met Mahaprabhu, and then that famous discourse started. So as Bhattacharya had told, this young sannyasi should hear Vedanta. So he made Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sit in front of him. And of course, because he was a sannyasi, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya offered him an elevated position, and he sat in a position below him. And then he started his exposition on the Vedanta Sutras. And this started, it was going on and on for how many days? 7 continuous days. 7 days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he started telling his explanations about the Vedanta Sutra, specifically from the Sharirika Bhashya of Sripada Shankaracharya, and it went on for 7 days. And on the 8th day, so till these 7 days, Mahaprabhu silently, he was hearing continuously, and no reply, nothing. On the 8th day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, see, you continuously are hearing from me, but you are not replying anything, you are not asking any questions. Have you understood the Vedanta Sutra? How can I make out, have you really understood? Could you make out what I am telling? So Mahaprabhu says, my dear Bhattacharya, since because you told me to listen, I listened to you. Because this is how, Prabhupada quotes in that purport how, outside we see some Mayavadi sannyasis, they also, we want to hear Vedanta Sutra, there was some person, they'll be reciting and here, they'll understand, not understand, many of them won't understand. Okay, go on hearing Vedanta Sutra, and they're happy with that. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also imitated that. So went on hearing you speak, hearing 7 continuous days, and then Mahaprabhu says, then did you understand? At that point of time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, my dear Bhattacharya, the Vedanta Sutra is like the sun. It is naturally effulgent. The meaning is very clear, but your explanation to it is like the cloud which is covering the sun. So the explanation what you are giving, that I am unable to understand properly, I am not satisfied with it. Then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became angry and lot of discussion, then it started. So let us see few portions from their discussion. The discussion between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. It's a very lengthy discussion. Only some portions I would like to read out. After hearing from Bhattacharya, then Mahaprabhu, he points out this mistake in the exposition of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya about the form of the Supreme Lord. Mahaprabhu says, Ishvarera Shri Vigraha Satchidanandakara Se Vigrahe Kaha Sattva Gunera Vikara. So he says how? Ishvarera Shri Vigraha Satchidananda Akara. So meaning is clear. Ishvarera Shri Vigraha. The Lord's form, the Supreme Lord's form, it is Satchidananda Akara. It is Sat Chit Ananda. It is eternal, full of knowledge and all blissful. That is its nature. Just like all contrary to that, our whatever material body, it is Asat, Achit, Nirananda. It is temporary, ignorant, full of ignorance, and it's a source of misery. But the Lord's form, it is Satchidananda Akara. Se Vigrahe Kaha Sattva Gunera Vikara. But you are telling the form of the Lord is nothing but a product of the material mode of goodness. Sattva Gunera Vikara. It's actually just a product of material goodness. No, this is completely wrong. It is not just goodness. It is transcendental. Something beyond the three modes of material nature. Shri Vigraha Yena Mane Seta Pashandi Adrishya Asprishya Sehaya Yamadandi. So those who doesn't accept the form of the Lord and who says the form of the Lord is something material, they are known as Pashandis or agnostics, we say. And such people, we should never hear from them and say Haya Yamadandi. They are eligible for punishment from Yamaraja. Then Vedana Maniya Bauddha Hayata Nastika Vedashraya Nastikyavada Bauddha ke Adhika. So whoever, like say, doesn't accept the version of the Vedas, they are actually like Buddhists. They don't accept the authority of the Vedic literatures. But Mayavadis like you are less than them. Why? Because Vedashraya Nastikyavada Bauddha ke Adhika. At least they are rejecting Vedas and okay, something they are doing, something they are telling. But you people, you have accepted the version of the Vedas and quoting the Vedic literature, some selected verses from here and there, you are trying to prove what the Buddhists are telling. Nastikyavada. I'll read the translation. The Buddhists do not recognize the authority of the Vedas. Therefore, they are considered agnostics. However, those who have taken shelter of the Vedic scriptures yet preach agnosticism in accordance with the Mayavada philosophy are certainly more dangerous than Buddhists. Then this famous verse. Jivera nistara lagi sutra kaila vyasa Mayavadi bhashya sunile haya sarvanasha. So, Srila Vyasadeva presented the Vedanta philosophy for the deliverance of the conditioned souls. So, Vedanta Sutra was compiled by Vyasadeva for the deliverance of conditioned souls. But if one hears the commentary of Shankaracharya, the Mayavada Bhashya, Haya Sarvanasha, everything is spoiled. So likewise it goes on. Many other points also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out the mistake in the exposition given by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then after a few more verses, this portion let us see. Mahaprabhu points out about the Mahavakya which are quoted by the impersonalists, and about Shankaracharya. Let us see them. Pranavaye Mahavakya Ishvarera Murti Pranava Haite Sarvaveda Jagat Utpatti. The transcendental vibration Omkara is a sound form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All Vedic knowledge and this cosmic manifestation are produced from this sound representation of the Lord. So it's about Omkara. Tattvamasi Jiva Hetu Pradeshika Vakya Pranava Namani Tare Kahe Mahavakya. The subsidiary vibration Tattvamasi, you are the same, is meant for the understanding of the living entity. But the principal vibration is Omkara. Not caring for Omkara, Shankaracharya has stressed the vibration Tat-Tvamasi. So again, if we get into the details, they have these Mahavakyas and they expose, this is exposition what they give as Mahavakyas. So Mahaprabhu is telling the primary thing, Omkara, is not given prominence. Eimate kalpita bhashye shatadosha dila Bhattacharya purva paksha apara karila. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu criticized Shankaracharya's Sharirika Bhashya as imaginary, and he pointed out hundreds of faults in it. To defend Shankaracharya, however, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya presented unlimited opposition. So to oppose this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did not leave him. So many arguments, unlimited opposition, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, many things he also started quoting. But still, Vitanda Chala Nigrahadi Aneka Uthaila Sabha Khandi Prabhu Nijamata Se Sthapila. The Bhattacharya presented various types of false arguments with pseudo-logic and tried to defeat his opponent in many ways. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refuted all these arguments and established his own conviction. Then, Bhagavan Sambandha Bhakti Abhidheya Haya Prema Prayojana Vede Tina Vastu Haya. Then Mahaprabhu starts telling about bhakti, how there is this Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya Jnana and Prayojana. The Vedic literature speak about these things. Our relationship with the Supreme Lord. How we can re-establish our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And what is the benefit of these things? Going back to Godhead. Leaving aside all these things, simply some dry logic, some false arguments and kutarka, all these are the things what you are speaking. Forgetting or missing out the important thing which the Vedic literatures are speaking about our relationship, how to establish re-establish our lost relationship, and how to go back to Godhead. You have completely missed out this very important knowledge. Araye ye kichu kahe sakala I kalpana Svatah pramana veda vakye kalpena lakshana. If one tries to explain the Vedic literature in a different way, he is indulging in imagination. Any interpretation of the self-evident Vedic version is simply imaginary. Acharyera doshanahi Ishvara ajna haila Ataeva kalpana kari nastika shastra kaila. Actually, there is no fault on the part of Shankaracharya. He simply carried out the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He had to imagine some kind of interpretation, and therefore he presented a kind of Vedic literature that is full of atheism. So this is how it's actually not the fault of Sripada Shankaracharya. In fact, he is like it said, he is the incarnation of Lord Shiva on the order of the Supreme Lord. Whatever the requirement of that specific time for a different purpose, on the order of the Supreme Lord, he came to bewilder people. So all that explanation we can find in the next verses. Mahaprabhu quotes from Padma Purana, between the conversation between Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati, wherein Lord Shiva says, yes, in the Kali Yuga I'll appear in a Brahmana Rupina, in the form of a Brahmana, and I'll try to bewilder whatever atheistic kind of people. So likewise Lord Shiva has appeared. Actually it's not his fault. On the order of the Supreme Lord he has come here. So in that condition, whatever his bhashya or his explanation, we cannot accept. So like this the argument goes on, and a lot of things, they speak, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Mahaprabhu. And finally, so this is the conclusion. Mahaprabhu says, Shuni Bhattacharya Haila Parama Vismita Mukhe na Nissahe Vani Haila Stambita. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became very much astonished. Upon hearing this, he became stunned and said nothing. So at one point of time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya couldn't speak anymore. Prabhu kahe Bhattacharya na kara vismaya Bhagavane bhakti parama purusharthahaya. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told him, do not be astonished. Actually, devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest perfection of human activity. So this is the conclusion what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, that Bhagavane Bhakti Parama Purusharthahaya. Because the explanation which they give is like Purusharthas, referring to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. No. Beyond this, Bhagavane Bhakti, devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, this is that highest Purushartha. So this is the conclusion given by Mahaprabhu. And then, Atma Rama Pariyanta Kare Ishvara Bhajana Aiche Achintya Bhagavanera Gunagana. Even the self-satisfied sages, the Atma Ramas, perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Such are the transcendental qualities of the Lord. They are full of inconceivable spiritual potency. The Lord is so attractive. He possesses unlimited, wonderful qualities in Him that even the self-satisfied sages, just by hearing about the Supreme Lord, hearing about His qualities, His activities, even they get attracted towards Him. So these are the Mahima or the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Atmaramas, they also become attracted to the Lord. Now Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he asks Mahaprabhu, can you kindly explain the Atmarama verse found in the Bhagavatam? So in Bhagavatam there is this verse, Atmaramascha munayo nirgrantha hi api urukrame kurvanti ahaitukim bhaktim ittam bhuta guno harihi. Lord Hari, He has got such wonderful qualities that even self-satisfied sages, they become attracted towards Him. Self-satisfied means they don't want anything. They're just happy, satisfied in their meditational activities. But still, even they, if they see the Supreme Lord or hear about Him, they become attracted towards Him. That is the position of the Supreme Lord, that He can attract even those Atmaramas. And then Mahaprabhu, for this Atmarama verse, earlier he had explained to us Sanatana Goswami, I think 64 varieties of ways. Now to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, another 20 ways he explains this verse, very beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam, this Atmarama verse. And so that again, great details are there, will not get into it. So after all these things, okay, let us conclude. Okay. Shuni Bhattacharya mane haila chamatkara Prabhu ke Krishna jani kare apana dikkara. So after hearing all these things, then finally Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya concluded, yes, what I had heard from Gopinatha Acharya is true. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not an ordinary person. He is Lord Krishna Himself. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya came to this conclusion. And then Kare Apane Tikkara, he started condemning himself. What I had done, what I was doing all this long, so much time I have wasted. In hota sakshat Krishna moi na janiya maha aparada kaino garbita hayya. Lord Krishna in this form, he has come here, but because of my pride I couldn't recognize him, and such a big offense I have performed towards him. Atmaninda kari laila prabhura sharana kripa karibare tabe prabhura haila mana. So denouncing him, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took full shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Nijarupa Prabhu Tanre Karaila Darshana Chaturbhuja Rupa Prabhu Haila Takhana. So at that point of time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his form as four-handed Lord Vishnu. And also it is said how he showed that Shadbhuja form, six-armed form, wherein two hands holding flute resembling Lord Krishna, two hands holding the bow and arrow of Lord Rama, and two hands of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu holding Kamandalu and water pot and this thing. And so this was the form what was seen by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he became very much astonished looking at all of these things. So many other details are there. Dekhi Sarvabhauma dandavat kari padi puna uti stuti kare doi karayudi. So Bhattacharya again and again he offered his respects, obeisances to Mahaprabhu, and got up with folded hands. He started offering prayers, and it is said at that point of time he offered 100 verses, he composed 100 verses to glorify Lord Chaitanya, because he is Brihaspati himself, such an erudite scholar. So on spot he composed 100 verses glorifying Lord Chaitanya. Shatashloka Kaila Ekadanda Nayaite Brihaspati Taite Shloka Napare Karite. These 100 shlokas he composed. And Shuni Sukhe Prabhu Tanre Kaila Alingana Bhattacharya Prema Veshe Haila Achetana. So after hearing this, Mahaprabhu became very happy and he embraced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And at that point of time, Bhattacharya became very ecstatic. Ashru Stamba Pulaka Sveda Kampata Thara Hari Nache Gaya Kande Pade Prabhu Padadhari. He became ecstatic. He started, his hair stood on end. Tears started coming from his eyes. And he started chanting the glories of Lord Chaitanya, and he started dancing. Nache Gaya Kande. He started crying, dancing and singing the glories of Lord Chaitanya. And looking at all of these things, Dekhi Gopinathacharya Harashita Mana Bhattacharya Nritya Dekhi Hase Prabhura Gana. And Gopinathacharya also wonderstruck to see this transformation take place in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and all the other assembled devotees, they became very wonderstruck looking at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya jumping and dancing. Such a big scholar, elderly man, very Kutarka Karkashashaya, hard-hearted personality. Now he with tears in his eyes, and is glorifying and is dancing. So this was seen by devotees, and they were all wonderstruck to see this. Gopinathacharya kahe Mahaprabhura prati se Bhattacharya Prabhu kaile ei gati. So Gopinathacharya then told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my dear Mahaprabhu, now I could make out. I had just heard about this, about your mercy. Now I can make out how much I tried to convince this Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but I was unsuccessful. But now that he has obtained your mercy, I can see the transformation, what he has undergone. Tabe Bhattacharya Prabhu Susthira Karila Sthirahaya Bhattacharya Bahustuti Kaila Jagat Nistarle Tumi Seha Alpakarya Ama Uddharle Tumi E Shakti Ascharya. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is telling, my dear Mahaprabhu, you have delivered the entire world, but that is not a very great task. However, you have also delivered me, a person like me, and that is certainly the work of very wonderful powers. So many other fallen people, Lord has whatever He has delivered them, that's okay. But a person, such a hard-hearted person like me, you have delivered. So this is really wonderful of you. This is what he says. Tarka Shastre Jada Ami Yaiche Lauha Pinda Ama Dravaile Tumi Pratapa Prachanda. I had become dull-headed due to reading too many books on logic. Consequently, I had become like an iron bar. Nonetheless, you have melted me, and therefore your influence is very great. And then Stuti Shuni Mahaprabhu Nijavasa Aila Bhattacharya Acharya Dware Bhiksha Karaila. So the story continues. So this time let's conclude. So this is how Mahaprabhu was he transformed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya through all of his arguments, quoting Vedic literatures, first of all hearing from him, and then finally after all these things, there again one more important point we should consider here, that even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya recognizes this. It is because that I had a relation with Gopinatha Acharya, who is your pure devotee. By his mercy, by his prayer, by his effort, Mahaprabhu has shown mercy upon me. So it is all the mercy of Gopinatha Acharya. Mahaprabhu has delivered a person like me. So it's by the mercy of pure devotees, somehow or the other we come in touch with them, we'll be able to get the Lord's mercy. And the Lord's mercy is there, however fallen we are, however hard-hearted we are, whatever may be our position in this material world, we'll be able to get love of Godhead and whatever, become eligible, purify our existence and become eligible to go back to Godhead. So this is what we see in this story, how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, from that position of being like an iron bar, very hard-hearted personality, later he started jumping and crying and dancing in ecstasy. And then one more event whatever took place the next day. After this, the next day morning, Mahaprabhu took, he had been to Jagannath temple and took Mahaprasada early in the morning and went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. And when he offered that prasada, at that point of time he had just woken up from his bed, and without even brushing his teeth, cleansing himself, whatever, following purificatory processes, Mahaprasadam from Lord Jagannatha, immediately he accepted it. So Mahaprabhu became very happy. How? Such a personality following all the rules of Vedic literatures, how he has rejected all of those things, and now he is able to understand, appreciate the glory of Mahaprasadam, the mercy of the Lord. And then in few other pastimes we hear how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, during that Gundicha Marjana, after all the whatever cleansing of Gundicha temple took place, everyone they went to take their bath in that Indradyumna Sarovara. And after, Mahaprabhu was taking bath, everyone they were splashing water on him, and then Mahaprabhu came out, and then there was a duel between many, two people, they got together and splashing water on each other. At that point of time, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Raya, they were splashing water on each other, playing like small children. He is the Asthana Pandita, and Ramananda Raya, he was the governor of one big province, and just playing like small children there in front of Mahaprabhu. And then another incident, we can see how his son-in-law Amogha, when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya invited Mahaprabhu for lunch in his home, Amogha Pandita, he spoke something against Mahaprabhu, so much he is eating, he criticized Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took one stick and wanted to go and hit his own son-in-law, Amoga Pandita, and he started running away and not caring for anyone. This elderly personality, Asthana Pandita, big Sanskrit, whatever, Pandita, he is holding one stick and running behind his, his son-in-law. In the whatever other people are looking at him, not caring for anyone. See, that was the attachment he had developed towards Lord Chaitanya. Anyone criticizing him, he couldn't accept that, he couldn't tolerate that. So this is how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was transformed into a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, all by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and by the influence of Gopinatha Acharya. So we'll conclude with this. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Prema.